and welcome to the latest KOFISI Konnect Podcast, the first of 2023. It's January, so the month for resolutions, a new set of goals, a focus on improving last year perhaps, or a time for new beginnings. Maybe Christmas has given you the space to think and reassess parts of your life. Maybe you're in a job you hate, or perhaps it's as simple as wanting something different from where you think your life path is set. Well, joining me in the studio is Susan Kagwe, who's a family lawyer and mediator, but perhaps she's best known for empowering people and giving them the tools to restart their lives. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
First of all, I'd just like to talk a little bit about you. Tell me about the young Susan and, perhaps where you were as a young girl and what your ambitions were.
Okay, great. So I'm glad to be here. And, I am a town girl, so I just grew up here in Nairobi. I've had my nursery and primary school is across from where we are right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I'm a middle child, so I grew up trying to get a bit of attention. Mm-hmm. You know how middle children, the struggle is quite real because they somehow like forget you. So, yeah, my parents are professionals. So I think what I'd say, I grew up knowing that I have to build up a career. And so my father is an advocate, he's a lawyer. Mm-hmm. So we are all our daddy's girls. We are 6 girls.
Oh,
so we are all our daddy's girls. So I'm one of, his girls. So I think I'm the one who followed in his footsteps. So, but I'm not that kind of, how can I say, that lawyer who is with placards and really, I don't find myself that kind of aggressive, advocator, but I am an advocator. So it's an interesting thing. Yeah. So I studied in Uganda for my campus in Makerere, then came back. So it's been 18 years now. Wow. Of being an advocate.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And when did you meet your ex-husband in your journey?
Yes, so professionally, that's me. Personally, so I met my ex-husband when I was 19. I'm now 44. Yeah, so it was interesting because I first went to a university here for 1 year, and that's where we met. And I met also at the same time, it was like a group of friends, the father of my first child. And then, so I met them as a group of friends, then changed university. And so when I finished and graduated, so this was like a friend.
Yeah.
So when I finished campus, came back is when now I would say that, when I got into Kenya School of Law and all that is when the relationship began. So just a small thing is that the father of my first child had passed on. So this was a friend of my, here we call them baby daddy, who had passed on.
Yeah.
And so then his friend took an interest in me and ended up marrying me. So we then got 2 sons. So I'm a mother of 3 boys.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
A lot of work in itself.
Now I'm relaxing. Now they are pampering me. Yeah.
So how, for one reason or another, things didn't.
Yes, they didn't work. So the marriage lasted 5.5 years. It was a great surprise to me. Because my parents are still married. I think they are getting to their 54th year. So I grew up in a family where marriage seemed very simple because of the way I saw them relate, even the way they relate to date. So when the violence started, the emotional abuse started, I was very shocked. And this is a fellow colleague, so I think I was also at a very serious comfort zone that, this is a professional like me, he's a colleague like me, so where would the issue have come from? But it was really bad. And so he kept saying, you need to leave. And this was after my second born and his, as I know now, his first son. So I tried to hang on, ended up getting the third, now his second born, my third born. And then it got really bad. So when one fine day I just decided to leave because he wanted to kill me. I bought a knife. I mean, it was just crazy. And I think the craziest thing about my story is that I was still an advocate then. I was in practice and not yet really specialized in family law. But I would get clients who consult me and tell me, yesterday I was hit by my husband or my partner, and I would guide them on what to do. I never spoke to myself. That's the strangest thing about my story.
Do you think that that's something symptomatic of people who are perhaps in a situation that they don't feel that they can get out of? They feel
yes, I think it's good for me to say I'm a Christian, now an ordained minister in my church. But then, I grew up as a Christian girl. And so where would I have, and we had a huge wedding. And for some of us who 100% sanguine, I still remember the day because it was big and it was about me. So I wonder now, that big day I had, 5 years later, what do I tell people happened?
So guilt and...
Yeah, guilt. And then, family was saying, no, try. And I think that's our kind of society, that you're not, and then there's that messaging that you're not the first one. So many women were hit yesterday. So many men were unfaithful 2-3 months ago. Yeah. So your story is not different from any other person's story. So you must hang in there. And that's marriage. It's not easy. It's not a bed of roses. Even they are even almost, I would say, like sayings that kind of a message to you that you're supposed to not enjoy marriage. It's interesting. When they say marriage is not a bed of roses, marriage is this. Instead of, so it's somehow like they are condoning you being unhappy, you being abused. It's strange because they're supposed to be telling you marriage is good. So I didn't have the kind of what I would call support or listening ear then, And then the other thing was that from where he comes from, they are very fussy about children. And so, in fact, very early in marriage, some of his close relatives had told me, if you ever leave, you'll need to leave your children behind. So it's like they had predicted there may be a problem, and it happened. So I couldn't figure out how to leave small children behind. So all those things contributed to the days, because to be honest, even in the honeymoon, there was already an issue. Because he found me doing 1 or 2 things in church. He said, you'll never go back, first of all, to that church again, and you'll never serve as you are serving. Forget. So you choose. So it started from the honeymoon.
So you had lots of, there was the control,
yes.
There were the children,
yes.
There was family, who were all sort of saying, stick with it. So, but when did you decide enough was
it's
enough? And how difficult was it?
What happened is that I honestly, I even got into a depression. I tell people there's a time I was longing to die. I was suicidal because I couldn't see where I'm going. And then I was thinking, instead of me being separated from my children, I'd rather not live. That's and that's depression, So I got into a program which I hope any woman would do, called Alabastron, and it's a woman's program. We call it a renewing self journey, and it's where I had a very simple message. It's very simple. That and it's, of course, it's a Christian program, so it was from the Bible, that I'm not living life as I should be living. And something started clicking in me. And so I remember I was in the middle of the program. It's a kind of program where you don't specifically go and say, this is exactly what I'm going through. So the facilitators they didn't know, because we were almost about 400 women going through different classes at that season. So in the middle of that season now, he said once again, you need to leave. Because he always used to say, I'm going to call your people for your dead body to come and collect your dead body from this house. So that day, I don't know, courage. I just said, enough is enough. And so I asked him that particular morning, are you sure you want me to leave? So he confirmed thrice. So when he left the house, I did what any good woman should do in that place at that time. And interestingly enough, I had bought everything in the house. I called a very big lorry and took everything out, whatever. I even had receipts. And so we had a bit of a battle about the children, imagine. So we were pulling, and one hand was here and another hand was here. And the interesting thing that you should know about an abuser is that when the victim changes and is no longer a victim, the abuser gets confused. And that's what happened that day. Because I had never answered him back. I had never, all through I was quiet, being hit. So when I now raised my voice and I said, I'm not leaving the children behind, things changed. So because he couldn't, this is not the person he's accustomed to. Yeah. And so I locked them in the car as we were moving things out, and that's how I got to leave. So somehow I don't know where the courage came from, but there's that particular day, and that particular day when that's a new start. I tell people, for those who have been mothers, when you go to the labor ward, there is that particular point where everything breaks. That's a break, and that's what births something new. Where you say now, it's now or never. This baby must be born now, or I'll lose my mind, because of the pain and what. So it was like that day was like a labor. I was in labor. Yeah. And yes.
Became reborn.
Reborn, yes.
I mean, and unfortunately, you're not the only woman who's out there in this sort of situation. If someone who might be listening to your story might be in the same situation, or not even in the same situation, because yours is, particularly horrific, but what's your advice to them if they don't believe that they can get help?
I think what I would say is, I'm this girl. First of all, let me just go back a little bit to how I grew up. I never went to boarding school. So I'm this girl who grew I was with my parents all through. No issue, in my own way, spoiled, because the sister who follows me is 8 years younger than me. So I was a baby for a while. So I was so I had my good level of confidence, and, I believed in myself. I had already was a professional, but I'm telling you, those 5 years of abuse to date, I've not recovered fully. There are days when all of a sudden everything, all the things that he said to me, when I look at the mirror, because he used to always tell me, you're so ugly. You're so, they come, or even maybe it's once a year. And that time when those messages, the negative, it takes now another, I don't know how long to recover. So any one day that you allow yourself to be a victim of abuse, violence, there are scars. I'm talking about emotional and verbal abuse. I think it's so dangerous, because what happens is that even your confidence, your self-esteem, your parenting, everything, it's everything about your life, even how I look at myself as a woman or as a human being. Let me say my healing is at maybe 80%, 90%, and I left marriage, imagine, 2011, and it's 2022. So you can imagine all those years of trying, and I'm now a minister in church, and I'm counseled, prayed for, talking to others. I still regress once in a blue moon. That's one, when you think about it, you would not give somebody even an hour.
So when you think about your life then,
yes,
and you look at the person you are now,
yes,
I know that you say that there are still scars, and there are still things that you deal with on a daily basis. But, here you are, fabulously confident, stunning, beautiful, helping other women.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about this new phase.
So I interested. I don't know if it's character or destiny or what, but I'm the kind of person, and I think that has helped me heal. I've never hidden my story, but I was not always like that open. I would give this specific person this information and this one this information. But my coming to KOFISI, and allow me to say that, has now triggered a new season of my life. Because 2.5 weeks because I was, my offices were across the road in Waumini House, and then I saw these people and this center, and it was everything that I love: people and flowers and lights, and paintings. It was so beautiful. So I made I'm also a very hasty decision maker, so I just immediately give me the form. I filled in. So 2.5 weeks after I come here, I met a lady who, I don't know how to describe her, but Lynn Gugi, and so a lot of people know about her because she's she has a great following on social media, on the Lynn Gugi network. So I met her, and I went to the reception and said, is that Lynn Gugi? Please introduce me to her. And so they did, and so I ended up sharing my story on her show. So that's.
Had you told anyone about your story before?
Yes, I had, in bits and pieces.
But not
in a media forum, not in a public forum like that. And so when she came in, because she came in I think that was her first day here also.
Yeah.
So she came to record something in the let me call it because I know it as the bigger conference room.
Assembly space.
Assembly space, yes. So when she came in, she then came in and interviewed me, in the lobby there. And so she was saying, "Are you sure you're talking about yourself?" And I said, I am. And she asked me, "Are you ready to share?" I said, "I'm ready." And so what has happened is that my coming to KOFISI was just destiny. And nobody can be able to explain, and it can never be explained how it happened, and then now how many stories are changing every day. Because on average per week I speak and counsel. Now they've reduced. At the beginning, in fact, I thought I would lose my hearing because my hands, it got to a place where my hands, because I was on the phone, and I told myself, because I am the one who gave my number and my email as I was being interviewed, I've never ignored even one call. All messages, as far as I can, I try to respond. So at that time, there were hundreds and hundreds of messages coming in. So now, at least on average per week, I have conversations with 5, 8, 7 women from all over the world. And so, so you can imagine that's what a big new beginning, what a new season.
Extraordinary. It's like a second birth. So
it's a second birth. And now for the women who are calling me, and I think this thing about my story, what's a big difference? I'm a professional.
Yeah.
I mean, I am middle class going above to higher class. That's how I was brought up. So the people who were brought up like me, who have always pretended they are okay, in the slum area, when you're there in the village, if you scream, who cares? All of you are having issues anyway. But there's a way you are brought up and you're put together that you have to always mask and pretend you're okay. Mm-hmm. And also your family, everybody is under a mask, pretending all is well, because we are this, well put together family, and we should never have an issue.
Want anyone to know the kind of what
so
the having.
That's a difference also with. So my story has given a voice to people who have, have never been able to speak to anybody, because you have to pretend that all is well. And after all, who will listen to you? Imagine you're coming from Muthaiga and then going to tell you have a, who will you tell you have a problem? Who wants to hear the problems of the rich? Literally. And that's why people who are in that level get a lot into depression, because they don't have a forum to vent. Unlike maybe when you're down here and you can even scream on the street, you have nothing to lose. So that is one. And then the other interesting thing is the men who reached out to me, and they told me that I'm now going to change the way I handle my wife and my marriage.
Which is
it's huge. For me, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge because who would have talked to them? First of all, I didn't ask them, oh, what were you doing? Like, I didn't ask them, oh, did you hit your wife yesterday? Or why are you saying that? But they reached out to me and told me that I can never allow my wife to have such a story, or my children, because I give the story about my children and what it has meant for them to live in 2 homes for the last 11 years.
And as boys, boys look up to their father.
Yes.
And if they don't understand that anything is wrong, the cycle is repeated.
It's repeated. And I tell the father that is why I have no apologies about breaking the cycle. Because they would have, now when I speak to them in my house, I can be able to tell them what I need to tell them. Even if there's any other message from any other place, I now have an opportunity to tell them, you will do things, not you can. You will be a different man. Yeah.
Susan, thank you so much
for
speaking to us.
Yes.
Your story is inspiring. You are hugely inspiring, and I really hope that anyone who's listening who finds himself in the same situation,
yes,
can just look to you. And
you have to. You new beginnings are excellent. I think it's fear, and once you overcome that fear, in even business, in everything, that new start, when you know, or you can even, you're triggered to go there, do it afraid. The results are amazing.
Amazing, Susan. Well, happy New Year.
Thank you.
And I hope that 2023 brings you even more amazing new beginnings.
Thank you.